Hello, welcome back to the Sloppdawgs podcast network. And when I say welcome back, what I mean is we just invented that. We had 3 podcasts before this, which you can find on the internet somewhere. One of which I posted on my own YouTube page, so you can't find it on the YouTube page this will be posted on because I don't understand YouTube sometimes, which is awesome. If you remember last time we had 3 people in total, or 2 people sometimes. Now we have 5. So we're going to be a little echoey because it's just one microphone in the center of a room surrounding 5 people. You may be hearing a dog squeaky toy right now. Completely possible. Ignore that as well. Today, the topic we're going to have today is Marvel versus DC, and we're going to wing it hard for about an hour and a half of winging it and talking about Marvel versus DC, what's good, what's bad, what we like, what we don't like. Why one's better than the other, why one cinematic universe is great, and why one cinematic universe is terrible. Pretty clear which one's which to everybody I feel like in this room. DC is both.
DC is the better one.
Okay, so to make this easy, we're going to go around the room, introduce ourselves so we know who's who, and just start off with who your favorite superhero is. And why, and someone in this room may have to defend themselves. And I mean, me as well, probably for Superman. But, Josh, if you want to start, go this way.
Sure. I'm Josh, as I was introduced. My favorite superhero would be Batman, mainly because he is just a man without any super abilities who has used his intelligence and his extreme wealth to fight justice in Gotham City.
Is it also because he is the knight?
So they say.
He is the knight. He is the darkness.
He is the darkness. Right?
He is justice and darkness. I already introduced myself. I'm also named Josh, the better one, the louder one, the one whose house we currently occupy.
True.
And dog toy you currently hear. Yeah, my dog toy. I don't have a dog. I just squeak a dog toy every now and then. My favorite superhero you already heard was Superman. So 2 DC in a row there. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 100% the opposite way soon, so I'm going to make all this nonsense. But my favorite superhero is Superman. And I like it because not only is he obviously super powerful, but I like the thought process of he can pretty much do anything he wants, but the struggle to make sure he doesn't constantly kill people and the ebb and flow of not trying to be a murder machine, right?
Yeah.
And stand up for truth and justice instead of just murder everybody with a flick of his finger, which he could technically do. Of course, the problem with him, before anybody speaks up, and I can say it myself, is that there's so many inconsistent writers that sometimes a writer's like, he can sneeze a universe out of existence. Another writer will say if he goes too long without sunlight, he might need a nap. so, like, there's just no consistency with the writing. That's probably part of the problem.
We talked about that, though, in the podcast.
We did. Go back and listen to that one. Yeah. The Superman one of Batman versus Superman.
Batman, yeah.
It's worth a listen, I think.
Oh, it is.
I'm Scott. My favorite superhero, I would have to say, I'm not really a hero kind of guy. I prefer to follow villains, just because I feel like they have way cooler storylines than most of the heroes. If I had to say my favorite out of like everything, I would have to go Galactus.
You're gonna sneak away from it. I feel
you're
sneaking away from the elephant in the room.
And that's kind of hard. Like, that's a hard decision for me because I have so many heroes and villains that I really like to follow. Like DC universe, I really enjoy the Green Lantern universe. You know, the Lanterns, Red Lanterns being my favorite. Aside from that, I am a huge Aquaman fan. I know you're waiting for me to throw it out there.
I am.
Huge Aquaman fan, which is...
I'm going to go back to the Green Lantern thing first. Ryan Reynolds. Great Green Lantern or the best Green Lantern?
He was a great Hal Jordan. Great Hal Jordan, but that movie should just... Oh my... The scars he had in the Deadpool movie should have been real for what people did to him for being in that Green Lantern movie. Yeah, it was awful. It was an awful movie. A lot of movies that are supposed to have serious hype and play big parts, I feel, get ruined really easy. Fantastic Four, Galactus, and Silver Surfer. I mean, Galactus is a giant cloud. That ruins any type of story arc of getting everybody together to fight against Galactus.
Also, Victor Von Doom is almost never an evil billionaire dictator person thing.
Usually.
That's
I
also
mean,
So I feel like that's like a big flaw.
that's a huge flaw. Exactly. Like they eliminate that too in those kind of movies. So if I had to, comic wise, had to pick a favorite, I'm going with Galactus, just because of everything it takes to put him down, everything he can do.
What can he do? Because Batman and Superman are pretty obvious. If you don't know what Batman and Superman do.
Well,
you're an idiot.
Galactus, he is an enormous intergalactic fat kid.
Cloud?
Cloud. I was going to say Cloud.
He-
Got a Cloud.
I mean, the Cloud it makes sense, sort of. In the comics, he gets preceded by, like, this cloud, like, space dust. And it's because he uses, like, all these futuristic drills and, like, all this stuff that's supposed to, like, hit your planet, and it drills into your planet's core and it turns into energy, which he absorbs from a gigantic chair that he sits from in space.
Remember earlier today when we were talking about Link? Books, we said science and comics don't mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where
This is-
Yeah. So
You just suspend your.
he gets this technology from everywhere, from all over the place, because he needs to synthesize planets into energy for him to survive, and that's because of pick a storyline. You know, they change that story so many times. So he has to do that, but he starts off with a herald, Silver Surfer, who's pretty popular among comics. That's his first herald, supposedly his first herald. Dude's like, hey, look, I'll find planets for you and like get them ready for you so you don't have to deal with BS if you just leave my planet alone. And Galactus is like, okay, you bring me my food, that's fine. So he does that, and it doesn't work out because Silver Surfer decides to be a good guy, which happens to Galactus, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 more times, because he decides to bring in more and more heralds to help him out. And
Don't you think you would realize by like the second or
you
third
think
time
he gives part of his power, because he has something called the power cosmic, and he gives that to the people that herald him. So he's like, Silver Surfer's just some dude. He's like, here you go, bam, you have powers now, and he becomes a BA, flying around, shooting lasers at people, conquering planets, and then he's like, you know what, I'm going to take this power and use it against you. And he's like, oh, okay, well, here, I'll give it to this person, same thing. Well, you think after a while he'd be like, maybe you should bring your powers to the table, and I shouldn't give you mine. But he doesn't really.
When will he learn to trust?
Exactly. I think he might be too trusting. I think that's what it is.
Right, I think that's the problem.
Yeah, he's a little
Right.
too trusting.
Isn't there a certain point where Galactus becomes somebody else's herald? Where the Richards kid? Reed Richards?
Yeah.
Reed, the Kraken?
Franklin.
Yeah.
Sort of. Franklin Richards is like the absolute, the dumbest thing I have ever read in comics.
Booker knows exactly what we're talking about.
He's just
absolutely.
Mr. Fantastic
Right away.
and the Invisible Woman have a kid,
Yeah.
and apparently
They have 2 children.
Stretchy Man. Oh, they do have 2.
They do have 2, yeah.
Apparently, Stretchy Man and a woman who can make fields and turn invisible. When they have a kid, that kid is Jesus.
Natural.
Apparently,
Natural.
you know, same thing though with
Science and comics.
Yeah.
Cyclops and Jean Grey.
The best way to
They
describe
have they have Cable, Strife,
Yeah.
or
Right.
whoever else,
Whoever else,
X-Man.
yeah.
You know, apparently there's 3 different kids off one
the
person.
best way to describe Franklin Richards I've heard is he's basically a writer who's
Yeah.
within the book
Yep.
who can randomly be like, I don't like this. Start over.
4 years old. 4 years old. He makes a pocket universe just on accident.
Why not?
He's like, hey, you know what? I wonder if I can. Oh, I did it. I can do that. Good to know. I'll put that on the resume when I get a job in 4 years, because apparently I'm a genius.
Pocket Universe.
Pocket universe. Yeah, but there is a
Self-starter.
story arc where he decides to make Galactus kind of like his his whipping boy,
Mhm.
and Galactus
You can
takes
say
I would say you can swear on this podcast.
Galactus, you know, he takes it because he ain't no fool. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he's big and bad. When he knows he's beat, he's beat, man. You know what I mean? And there's been comics where he calls on like Silver Surfer, like, hey man, look, I really need your help. Like, I'm gonna die if you don't help me. So, but yeah, I like the idea of consuming entire planets to sustain existence. You know, and he in that
It says
aspect.
a lot about Scott.
I mean, in that aspect, like he
Isn't that
could be
Donald Trump's
bad.
great
He could be good, you know. He could be bad. He could be
Is
good.
this like a really broad statement on consumerism? Yeah, he's trying to make an actual
now
statement.
let's-
This is planned from the get-go.
And now let's get onto the real thing. Let's talk about Donald Trump's campaign. But yeah,
Swinson.
I'd have to go with
Stop
that.
him from talking.
Okay. I am Jesse. Twinson, whatever you want to go by.
My favorite hero, I guess. So, I'm going to throw a wrench in the pile and say Hellboy, because I've always liked Hellboy.
That's not DC or Marvel. Let's keep it on topic, man.
Okay.
Yeah, you've ruined it. You've already ruined it.
You said superhero.
You did say
I'm
superhero.
from Marvel.
Go home.
I didn't say Marvel or DC. That's my fault.
Go on with Hellboy.
Okay. If we're going to go be restricted to that, then we're going to say Wolverine.
Wow.
Sorry.
Disdain.
Sorry.
Audible disdain.
I like Wolverine. I think Wolverine's a badass.
All right. First, go back and defend why you
Why
would pick Hellboy when you're clearly not talking about the comics he's in, and then defend Wolverine.
Well, throw him
Why
back.
Hellboy?
Oh, it's cool. It's red.
End of thing.
He's
End
red.
of thing.
He's cool and he's red, so you described Deadpool.
Or let's break out the list here.
I just started that.
No, I think the whole his backstory is really cool. Like he's like the son of the devil or something along those lines, and he's supposed to bring about the end of the world, but really all he does is want to smoke cigars and have sex with a pyromancy chick. So I can respect
That's the
that.
life.
You get into that because of your own life. Really.
Let's not touch on that. But as for Wolverine, I don't know. It's like his regenerative. Okay, the thing
Just
where he heals all the time.
Regenerative ability.
Yes,
Healing
that.
factor.
That's really awesome. I mean, that's like probably like the best superpower ever.
Again, let's break out that list.
Deadpool has that.
Well, yeah. What was the reason for your? You should like Deadpool.
He's Canadian.
Red, cool,
I know. I'm so far. I'm making a good
what was
case
the
for it.
reason for your audible disdain of Wolverine?
Wolverine has had so many different storylines.
Inferiority complex, probably.
Yeah, I mean, he's had so many different storylines. His powers have been altered so many times. It's just I feel like he's overdone. He's overdone in the comics. I mean, he started out as an assassin, to kill the Hulk.
Yeah.
And originally he was going to be the Badger, by the way. I don't know if you guys know
No,
that.
no, no.
He was
so
originally
much better.
He was originally going to be the Badger. Okay.
Still awesome.
Funny Badger.
So, I mean, he just, and then like some of the adamantium. Let me just go with that. Adamantium.
Sure,
Awesome.
go for it.
Awesome.
Yes, it
He's
sure is.
fused with adamantium, which is BA. Okay.
Right.
Then let's look at all the storylines that happen with that. Okay. 1. Hulk rips him in half, throws his legs on top of a mountain, makes him crawl up the mountain to get his legs back.
Yeah.
How'd the Hulk rip him in half of his adamantium, which is the most indestructible organism, or most indestructible thing on Earth?
I would tell you because Hulk is strongest.
I mean, Hulk is pretty strong, but I mean, indestructible means
Yeah,
Indestructible.
yeah.
If I vaguely
Not able to
remember,
be
it was like he wrenched it from like his flesh, pretty much, kind of.
Yeah, but then why wouldn't he just? They show in the comics he's got no legs. Now, if he wrenched it from his bones, he would still have bone
He'd
legs.
still have
like
that.
adamantium legs dragging behind him, and he don't.
Bone legs.
Aside from that, Magneto decides one day, you know what I'm gonna do to this guy? I'm gonna pull the adamantium out of his pores.
Which is amazing.
And
Which is awesome.
Magneto's a VA. Decides to pull it out. Then what happens to him? Wolverine turns into
Bones.
feral Wolverine. He becomes this huge, jacked up, like Igor
Oh, really?
Wolverine.
I don't even know.
That's
even
not
know that.
Wolverine's
a thing.
fault.
He becomes like a feral Wolverine. He becomes
I
enormous,
didn't know that was
hairy everywhere, with bone claws. Yeah, I used to have an action figure of it, my man.
That's sad. That's
While
sad.
it was a cool action figure, very dumb storyline.
Yeah.
And I feel like Wolverine shouldn't be anyone's favorite.
Didn't he just die?
He did, and they brought.
Yeah,
I think
he
they brought him
brought
back
him
already.
back. Yeah.
Well,
There was a
everybody-
whole comic series of the death of Wolverine, and they were like, Marvel, where are you
There's
going
one
with
called The Death of Superman, too. There's like a bunch of those.
Dude,
Nobody ever
yeah.
dies.
Nobody
Yeah.
ever dies.
Which I already
We
went
talked
over.
about Spider-Man earlier.
Which I already went over in another podcast, which I might cover again now, is one of the reasons why, one of the tropes in comics I hate.
Yeah.
Because I like that their stories of people have a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
I like that there's the beginning part, there's a middle part you like, and then everybody dies. There's an ending.
Yep.
Not in comics. Everybody kind of dies, or they take
Time bullet.
Time America.
Time bullet.
Yep, exactly.
the time bullet that everybody hates.
See, and the reason they do that is because they feel like they need to change things to make people like it. So they killed Captain America
Mm-hmm.
to put Winter Soldier, Bucky.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be the new Captain America.
Right.
Falcon. Oh, you know what? I'll be the new Captain America. But then when people are like, well, I miss Winter Soldier. I miss Falcon when he wasn't Captain America. Then they're like, oh, we gotta bring Captain America back, guys.
Right.
We gotta think of a
Or I
way.
miss Steve Rogers.
Right.
They're
And
bringing
then-
him back.
And then some dude in this meeting, he just speaks up and he goes, "Hey guys, I got an idea. How about if that bullet wasn't really a bullet, but it was a time one?" And the assassin wanted Captain America to go back in time, where he can now save Bucky from ever becoming Winter Soldier.
But see, then that's sort of the alternate universe stuff, and then you have 6 different storylines.
Yeah,
So you end up with 7 Spider-Mans.
Exactly. Yep.
So going back to the topic at hand here, moving on to our last but not least, Mr. Booker. Honorable mention is Wannabeast. You guys know who Wannabeast is?
Nope.
Oh. So his superpower is that he can merge 2 animals together to form some sort of hybrid. The most noted one is Horsefly. He merges a horse and a fly together to create a horsefly.
Wow.
Like, is it a real horsefly, or is it like a horse with
So it's like
flies?
a big ass fly, but it has a
With
horse.
hooves?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Imagine finding one of them in your
What
house.
comic is this superhero in?
He's DC.
DC?
Yeah.
He's a real person.
Oh yeah, no, it's real. He's like one of the little lesser league known ones.
Like an Aquaman.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Aquaman has his own. All right, no, we're giving that one go. All right.
Wannabeast does his own.
Well,
I just like to point out that right now we're tied. DC has 2, Marvel has 2. So
Okay.
and Dark Horse.
well, yeah, well,
No,
I think it's Vertigo.
What is Hellboy? Dark Horse
I
or
think it's
what?
Vertigo.
Vertigo?
I think it
And
is.
Vertigo has one.
Vertigo has one also.
well, and technically Vertigo's owned by DC,
Yeah.
so
So we're gonna
So,
I mean,
So right now it's 3-2.
It's progressive.
Hellboy.
Ron Perlman's awesome. That's the point.
We could have made that real. You could have just said, before we say anything, I just want to bring up Ron Paul, if we could.
How badass.
Booker?
Alright, I'm Anthony. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. I am not as knowledgeable on comics as the rest are here, so I'm not going to have a lot to say in this one. I'll give my opinions where I can. That being said, my favorite superhero, like Scott, I'm more interested in the villains because I like their story and I'm just evil at heart. My favorite superhero, though,
Just out loud.
Yeah.
In front of people.
I put it out loud.
For the world
I
to
put
know.
it out there. My favorite superhero.
He was such a no one would ever expect him to kill 13 people. He was in the basement.
Like Josh Maher said, my favorite superhero is also Batman. I like the fact that he has no superpowers, and that, again, like Maher said, he's just a man with a lot of money and intelligence, and some help, of course. But
Good old Alfred.
Yeah.
So you guys are saying that basically what you would like Richard Branson to do one day is become the Knight.
Yes.
yes, that would be amazing. Absolutely.
Only if I can be Robin. Or Alfred.
I'll take that Alfred job. You know? I'll make some sandwiches for him. I'm alright with that.
Some eggs and bacon.
I'll follow us in the car.
Would you like to go to space today, sir? We've already been, yes, very good.
Piece of sandwich.
So that is my take. Batman is my favorite superhero.
Well, you like villains better, so what villain you didn't really say a villain.
What villain would you
Like, you
go
started going into villains and then you strayed into Batman.
Well, I was
Do you
just
think
making
Batman's a
comment.
villain? Do we need to talk about that?
No.
That's deep.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you kind of get into it and spin it that way. But no, as far as villains go, as you two both know, we talked about it in the Batman vs. Superman podcast that we did. My favorite villain is Joker.
DC walks away with it.
Just,
Yeah.
you know, you can go back and listen to me getting into that. I just like the psychology, the absolute insane craziness that he brings to the table. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes, please feel free to listen to the villains one
Yes.
of our four-parter for Batman vs. Superman, which I would love to make a full, at least half-hour-long podcast on why Batman vs. Superman is a horrible movie. And it makes me want to punch babies out of midair.
I went in there with really low
You had to.
expectations,
You had
and
to.
I walked out with. I was like, you know what? It wasn't that bad.
That's same.
There was a lot in it though that like I really
Yeah.
didn't care for.
See, this is the
You know?
problem. I went in there with low expectations. Everybody told me it was going to be bad. And I was like, when I walked out, I'm like, oh, it's like a 5 or a 6. But I hated the portrayal of Lex Luthor.
Oh
I
my
literally
God,
hated
me
it.
too.
I wanted to punch everything
He
around
was-
me. I was watching.
He was way too crazy.
He was way too crazy.
Right.
Because he's like has his shit together. Like This one has like Asperger's or something.
Right.
Like that.
This one is like this weird crossover between like the Smallville one and the Joker, Heath Ledger Joker. It's like those two had a kid, and this is that Lex Luthor, and it's not the great thing about Lex Luthor, and I did mention in the Villains podcast, and you mentioned it when you heard it, Scott, is that Lex Luthor is a great villain to me because he is bad in a lot of iterations just because he's so smart and he's so angry that somebody else has been given power greater than him. And he thinks it's not fair that someone is strong just because it's strength and he's not as smart as him. Like, he wants to be the smartest, the best ever. He's used to that. And Eisenberg, he must say that in this movie like 4 times, just out loud, like how much he is, I gotta be the best, or like I hate being, I'm just smart and very strong.
In case you didn't know.
It's nice because in the comics a lot of it is subtle. You can see it, like that's the whole reason he's doing everything. It's not because he's crazy like the Joker or has a vendetta like, you know, Two-Face or any other, I don't know, other villains. It's because he's just really smart and he's really angry that a really strong guy is praised and a really smart guy isn't.
Yep.
That's it.
He's upset because...
So he's a nerd that's stuffed in the locker.
I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Lex Luthor he would like whip ass though. Like in the comics, he physically trains his body to be. He pushes his limitations, like the human limitation. He surpasses that, but he's still not as strong as Superman, and that's what pisses him off. Yeah. Like, because I think in oh my god, what comic is it? Superman All-Star maybe. It's the one where Superman he like dies, but he decides to do like good deeds before he goes.
Oh, no. I don't know all of them. I know if I'm giving you one to read.
He like flies into the
Red
sun.
Read Red Sun.
He like flies into the sun.
Is that the Russian one or something?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
He like flies into the sun, but like Lex Luthor says something about like it's not fair that like the person that the world looks to for leadership and looks to for hope isn't even from Earth.
Right.
And that's what pisses him off. He's upset about that.
And that is in this movie.
Exactly.
In this movie, that is overblown
Way
much. And then that the other thing that upsets me is that that he's talking about Darkseid at the end of that movie. You know he is.
Oh yeah.
But
the parademons too. In
the only time you like, if you don't know enough about, like, if you're like Bookdergorn there, you have no idea he's referencing Darkseid until somebody walks out he walks out with us and we go, he was referencing Darkseid. I guess Darkseid's in the next one. And you're like, how was he how did you get that name?
You know what the worst
What
part
I
about
guess.
that movie was? Helen fucking Hunt. Her goddamn voice drives me insane. I was so glad when she turned that around, saw the Ice-T thing. I was like, oh, she's gonna die.
I wasn't for a second, and I'm going to be honest with you, maybe I should have known that she was going to die.
What's that?
For a second,
McIntyre.
For a second, I thought the pee was there because he was going to make her drink pee in front of him. I was like, why does someone have to drink pee?
Oh, it's part of the Congress thing. You have to drink pee.
It's part of
The other thing I'll tell you, since we already got into it, that I hated about that movie was the grumpy old man version of Superman. Never has Superman ever been like, do these people really deserve saving? He says that exact thing in that exact inflection, like at least once, maybe twice.
And then like Martha Kent over there was like encouraging it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's the type of mom who gives her son participation awards.
That's the other thing that pisses me off. In the movie, Martha's like, don't save him. And like, in the comic books, both Martha and what's his dad's name?
Kevin Kline.
Kevin both
Kevin
Costner.
Martha and his dad are the reasons he does what he does.
Exactly.
Because they're both like, hey, you were brought here for a reason, and that reason possibly is to give hope to the hopeless, to give a will to the people who have no will, to show people that they can be better and be something more. Why don't we go do that? And in this movie, it's just like, you don't have to say that. And then the other thing that makes me angry is, I'm so sad we went down this route. This is not what I wanted, but whatever. We're already here.
Can't turn that.
The whole thing of like, okay, Superman should be dead, right? And I know if you saw the movie,
not gonna die.
Right, no. But what I'm saying should be dead is Batman had a
So was I.
But I'll be damned if he's not the worst part of that movie.
Oh my god!
he's like easily second or third best thing.
Oh yeah. Oh, I agree.
Maybe the best, right?
Yeah.
I think
I
so.
would agree with that.
Here's the issue. Two things with this version of Batman. He directly kills many people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, me and Jesse went to see it together, and that's actually a point we made. Like him, dragging that car around. People no, they're okay. They're just sleeping. Like, no, you're slamming this car with people in it into other cars with people in it.
They're not hurting.
Shooting, things are exploding. Batfleck, you're killing people, buddy.
And I can accept that because in Frank Miller's version of Batman, the original Frank Miller version of Batman, he's grumpier, he's older, and he murders people.
Oh yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Because he's seen a bunch of death in his own family, and he's had enough. Right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's cool.
No
But then that version of Batman also, in Frank Miller's Batman, he's super, he's he prepares for every little thing, right? And that's what this version of this Batman was until he just tossed this fucking spear he made away. He's not even the one that threw it in the fucking moat.
No.
Somebody else did
Somebody
that,
else
right?
did that,
I think it was Lois. He
Lois
just goes, Martha, throw spear.
And after that, he's just like, I totally trust you now. I tried to kill you 5 minutes ago, and we hated each other. And now it's like, hey bro, I'm gonna save your mom. Don't even think twice. I got this. You'd think in the back of his mind, he'd think, can I really trust this guy to save my mom? Or is he gonna do something funny to my mom? I don't know.
Frustrating. All those things are frustrating. That's I want to give it a higher score, but it's just.
It just really wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Though.
Superman's
I'm still okay with it.
I probably owned it at some point in
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There are things about it I could pick apart for sure that I just really didn't care for, but it was not as bad as I thought it would be. However, the one thing I'm a little upset about is how the hell does Lex Luthor know anything about Darkseid? How does
He has that painting.
Oh yeah, didn't you see that?
So he knows that's
sense.
Darkseid?
Yeah, there's that painting.
The painting.
Because I get the painting.
There's that painting though, Scott.
I mean,
that painting.
nowhere in that painting does it show Darkseid.
Don't question Zack Schneider.
I understand Batman knowing and Superman knowing.
Yeah.
Well, just Batman actually, because he had the vision of the what are they called when
the demon
The horseflies?
Yeah.
The horseflies?
Yeah, them being
the
you know?
horseflies.
And Superman for some reason being on Darkseid's team. I don't know what that's about.
Well, it's Injustice. They threw Injustice in there.
Is that what it was supposed
That's what
to
it
be?
was. It was
That's where it
Injustice.
came from.
Really?
It was also the Flash, the little Flash through time thing.
Was
that
that
was
the
Injustice.
Flash?
That was also Injustice. That was the Flash.
That
And
was
through time, he was trying to warn him of the Injustice timeline. Of don't let Superman kill the Joker.
Oh yeah.
But then it doesn't. Because he's just you're right about him. Okay. What does that mean? If you get sent back in time for a short period of time, are you going to say something vague like that? Or are you going to be like, hey man, Superman, gonna kill this dude, don't let him do it.
I think it's pretty clear that he didn't know what he was doing because he said, I went back too far. I think the Flash is I'm not 100% sure it's going to work. And now I ran so fast I went back in time, and now I'm here, and then this kind of hurts a little bit because running through time is not easy.
Right.
Probably. I don't know.
I'm gonna think of it.
This Flash also looks like he is
teaches yoga.
super high all the time.
Yeah.
So he was probably just hellish stoned.
This isn't where I parked my car! Send back.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right.
So
I apologize for going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Do you got more stuff, Shwayne? Or
No.
Okay, I want to divert off of this because we'll get back to the cinematic universe and how much I hate DC as a whole later, probably. But Marvel versus DC, I have an opinion on what I think, who's better and why, but I think it's more nuanced than just one's better than the other. I think one might be better than the other in something else.
Right.
Now, does anybody have a hard stance on one's just better, period?
I think overall DC's better.
Just period. Just better, period.
In every aspect?
Not in every aspect, but in most aspects.
I mean...
So if we average the scores, DC's coming out on top. Is what you're saying?
I mean, for me, anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For you, anyway.
I mean, I
What about
respect you guys'
Butcher?
opinion.
I'm the same way. I mean, I wouldn't say DC is better in every way, but I would say overall.
You're averaging out to a DC.
Yeah, I would give it.
So that's 2 for
I would give it
DC.
to DC.
I'll also just throw a disclaimer out there. I am not as well versed as the comics as, well, you guys.
Three.
So
Yeah,
me and the
other
two
three
Joshes
guys,
are pretty much the most well versed. These two are just idiots with their opinion.
Well,
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I've read like a
You know
few
some stuff.
Yeah, I do know some stuff.
All right, folks, that does
I would
it.
say nice gentlemen that are a little less knowledgeable, but yeah, idiots that don't know anything.
So the dummies pick DC. Scott, what do you think?
I think like if it came down to it,
I mean, because like I said, I don't know. I could tell you right now that one is just better than the other. I think there's nuances between the two.
yeah, I couldn't either because there's certain story arcs that I like better than others. There's certain heroes I like better than others. You know, that's
Certain movies I like better than
certain movies I like better than others. Exactly.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say the cinematic universe till later because I think it's just. I think it's a giant man beating up a baby. Is what I think the cinematic universe is.
I think
Mike Tyson.
I think it's Mike Tyson punching a child out of midair.
Yeah.
But anyway, if we want to get into that, I mean, I think everybody's would be on board that Marvel is clearly far ahead in cinematic world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way better than DC
Not even
has been and will ever be, possibly.
Hard no, DC all the way.
I mean,
Marvel's had their bombshells themselves.
well, of course they did. Yeah, I mean, how many times did we start
Christ, have you guys
Spider-Man?
have you guys seen Daredevil for? Or, I'm sorry, not Daredevil. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Have you guys seen Daredevil? Have you seen Ghost Rider? I mean,
Yeah, right.
The first Ghost Rider wasn't
the
that
first.
bad.
Well, that's because Sam Elliott saves it with his mustache, man. Let's be real. When Sam Elliott shows up, you're like, okay, you know what? I think I can watch this movie.
Or the second Amazing Spider-Man.
Like that one with
The
Electro.
second one is so bad, and Jamie Foxx fucks up Electro so bad. They're like, I feel like writers got together in a room. The writers got together in a room was like, what's the best way to fuck Electro up in a way that will make him like no one can ever play him in a movie again?
Well, I mean, did you ever watch the cartoon Spider-Man? Did you ever watch the cartoon Spider-Man where they bring out Electro and he's no, it was terrible.
It was bad.
The cartoon Electro was terrible.
Are we talking about the one with like the freaking mask on that has all the
with the lightning bolts on? But he was some like Red Skull. He was like Red Skull's son, who was like an ultimate weapon or
Are we
something.
talking about the '90s Spider-Man?
Yeah.
They
They fucked that up big time. Like he's like, oh, I'm the ultimate. Like I can't do a German accent, obviously, because that was my Arnold Schwarzenegger. But he's like
slightly macho.
He's like doing whatever he wants. Like that's not Electro. But I agree with you. The Jamie Foxx Electro was probably the worst. Like they tried to make it something because there was an Electro like that. You know, like a black suit, like real slick, like shaved head. He's super blue, but he wasn't. You know, Jamie Foxx. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, Jamie Foxx.
No, like Jamie Foxx in the beginning of that movie was just like, we knew it was gonna be. You know, me and Jesse saw that movie together too. We knew right away it was gonna be terrible as soon as he's talking to a Spider-Man picture about his birthday.
So bad. It was so bad.
Oh, Spider-Man, you remember it's my birthday? Oh, I'll remember it's your birthday, Max.
It was.
Get your dick out of your pants, Max. How weird do you think he got with that?
So yeah, there were flops, yes, in the Marvel universe, cinematic universe. I mean, I would say if I'm talking about comic versus comic, I have a tendency to lean more towards DC in the way they build their villains and superheroes. And when I say build, I mean the nuances of characterization. They build a character a little bit better. Like they don't do what Marvel does and just go, hey, what if a guy was from Canada and he had healing powers and we have metal in him and we stick him after the Hulk? Yeah?
Sound good?
Call him the Badger? Wolverine? I don't care. Like, I think in DC there's more nuance to the characters, but then they take these awesome characters and they go like, okay, well what we're gonna do is we're gonna put you in this really good storyline against this like futuristic whatever. It's gonna look real cool, but then all of a sudden you have to fight T-Rex from the past who can talk and breathe fire for no reason, and when you defeat him, you find out your father was the T-Rex all along. Like, what? Why is this happening? So the storylines in Marvel, I think, are generally speaking better. I mean, there are some big misses in that too, but I think the misses in DC are way more dramatic.
Agreed.
Like, especially with Superman is the quintessential swing and a miss in DC Universe. I mean, not just that, but you love Green Lantern, and there's been some huge swing and misses in Green Lantern.
Man,
especially when they like retcon stuff you're like, I liked that. Why did they take that away? That was part of the. Oh, damn it! Now I have to forget that's a thing.
I think the greatest thing that happened with Green Lantern universe that they completely wiped away was probably Blackest Night and Brightest Day.
Yeah.
I mean, those were huge, you know.
Right.
And I mean, even though they're not relevant anymore with the new 52 boot up, I mean, I still read them. You know.
Well, didn't they do away with the new 52 boot up now?
No, the Rebirth is something different.
Not yet. Yeah.
It's something different. I don't know what their deal is right now.
Now you were saying something originally today when we were talking on Link about how Marvel, and this is like kind of flies in the face of storylines, about how Marvel has a problem with. There's 4 Spider-Men right now, four active
Is it
Spider-Men.
three?
Three.
I think
Well, there's 3 full-time Spider-Men, and then there's a Spider-Man / Deadpool.
Can we
Which
just
is also ongoing.
Can we pump the
Yeah.
brakes and talk about the Superior Spider-Man for a second?
we'll get to that.
How
also.
ridiculous that shit is.
That's the Doc Ock one.
Well, yeah, I know, but why is that ridiculous? Doc Ock just takes over his body.
Purges his mind. Oh wait, but it's not actually purged. He keeps on coming back, and then eventually Doc Ock's like, "No, I can just have it back now. I'm good." Like,
See,
I'll be
hence-
dead.
Peter
I'd rather be dead than be Peter Parker.
Again,
Just take
hence,
it.
I would love to be in a writer's meeting. Like, okay, we're gonna put Doc Ock's brain in Peter Parker's, but
but just
follow
in
me here.
case, just in case it flops.
We'll bring him back. Like,
We got Plan B.
And this is why I don't know where to start.
I mean, really, you just start
Because
with
of everything
start
that
with
is
their
out
homecoming.
there.
Comics
So I don't know if I just pick something up and start reading.
Comics are inherently nonsense. All right, you have to suspend your belief to get into comics.
Yes.
The problem with nerds like myself and Scott and Modder is that we get into a situation where they're asking you to suspend your belief too far, and they're like, hey, remember when we asked you to suspend your belief for this, and you said yes? Okay, well, here's this other thing. Well, you're going to suspend, okay, good. Well, here's this other thing. All right, okay, good? You with us still? Well, here's this other, 6 things that you're going to have to just deal with right now.
So that's more like graphic novels. I don't know. I feel like
See, but graphic novels, actually, me and Modern had a
Yeah,
conversation
talk
about
about
that today. There's a lot of holes in them. Because what happens is certain major things will happen. Like, for instance, I read the Red Lantern graphic novels. Love them. Love everything about Red Lanterns. But there's a point when 2 major Red Lanterns are just dead. And you don't know why. You know, I assume it has something to do with Guy Gardner, because he's essentially DC's devil, and I hate him. But they're just dead, and you don't know why. So I had to look up what comics they died in, and then read those comics. They were like Green Lantern comics.
Oh, so they get off-screened in
Exactly,
okay.
exactly. So that's a problem with graphic novels. So you still kind of gotta find, because there's crossovers where like certain factions or certain heroes will come help another hero, and something major happens there. You know what I mean? And that's where shit goes awry. You know?
So what do you think about DC and Marvel? You didn't really put. I mean, you think the same thing, that it's a little nuanced, or do you have one that's I think better than the other? I think I would lean more towards Marvel because I'm more of a story person. Because if you can, I mean, it's shitty heroes and villains for the most part, but if you can put them in believable situations and tell a story that pulls me or drags me sometimes in,
Right.
I'm gonna probably fall more that way than I am any other way.
I would agree to an extent that the stories in Marvel tend to be better, but I tend to like the characters in DC more.
Right.
Because I think they spend a lot more time on the characterization of their characters. I also think there's less characters in DC, and that provides them the ability to develop them a little bit more. Because with some of the Marvel stuff, I swear they just create a character and throw it in, so you have 20 different characters in one story.
You mean like Franklin Richards? They're like, we need a way to make this all not happen anymore. This guy.
I mean, you guys read Infinity Gauntlet at all?
No.
No.
Oh my goodness! Like over 30 heroes against Thanos, who has the Infinity Gauntlet, where they all decide. They all decide
I
at this
just read
point.
this, yeah. Okay.
They all decide at this point to fight him because he decides, hey, you know what? I'm gonna impress Death. Half of existence in the entire known universe is just gone. So then they're freaking out, like, oh, where's everybody at? So then they're like, we should go fight Thanos. Over like 30 heroes are like shown, and he's just like making a joke out of it, like, because obviously he's a BA, you know, nothing's stopping him. And then Adam Warlock shows up, and You know, it goes on from there.
From there.
But, you know, it's...
Things happen.
I'm not so sure those two know.
Yeah, things happen. And
Adam
do know
Warlock
this.
comes
Yeah.
and wins. Okay? That's all you gotta know. How he wins is dumb. He just...
Well,
Talks.
Maybe
it's
you
also-
shouldn't wear that. You know what? Let me wear that and we'll see who wins. Okay, give it up. Oh, you lose. That's how he does it.
Like, a good example is the Civil War event that just happened in Marvel.
Yep.
Movies coming out May
Right.
6th,
Sure.
5th, whatever. Just in the movie, the cinematic version was over 70 characters.
I mean, in the comic, there was tons of...
There was tons of, yeah, like...
But in all fairness, that's one of the storylines I love the best of
It
comic
was
books
good.
of Civil War was because there was a lot of stuff in it that was nonsense, but at the core of it, the core of that whole storyline is your basic freedoms versus the safety of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's more
Yeah.
important, and am I going to give up my freedoms for people's safety, or do I really need to, or can I do both, or who do we trust, or who do we not trust?
Right.
And I love Captain America's struggle in the comic of that, and it looks like they're going to do it in
It
this.
looks like, yeah.
I don't know for sure, but it looks like they are, I don't know why we need to do this rule, because I know I'm good, and I'm always going to be good, so what's the problem here? And he can't grasp what Tony clearly grasped, which is, yeah, you're good, and yeah, I'm good, but I was kind of evil for a while, and who's to say this guy won't be evil, and this guy won't be evil, and the Hulk is basically a giant demon, so why we can't stop him from doing whatever he
Well,
wants?
that's why they send back. That's why they send to the Gladiator planet. Place.
Planet Hulk?
Well,
Yeah.
the thing, the thing with that is, like, in the Civil War is, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of nonsense, but every piece of nonsense in the Civil War has a meaning to it. For instance, my favorite off scene in Civil War, Punisher. Punisher shows up after they decide, for some reason, Tony and them decide, you know what would be a great idea? Let's get some villains up in this jaunt. Make them on our side. Be like, you know what? You signed this. You work for a government. Everything you've done is forgiven. And they're like, yeah. You know, like, duh, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah, give
Which
us
is
that
a
paper.
horrible idea.
Like Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly. So they do that, and everything's going on. And of course, you know the Punisher, dude. You're bad. That's it.
Right.
So once they do that, that's when the Punisher actually shows up. He doesn't show up throughout the entire comic till they do this, and because he's really have a say in the whole thing. I mean, he doesn't care. He's an anti-hero.
It doesn't matter, right?
So I think Toy Master and Jack-O-Lantern.
I thought it was Armadillo.
No, I thought it was Armadillo too, but it's not. It's Toy Master and Jack-O-Lantern. I remember specifically Jack-O-Lantern. They're like in a sewer or something. I don't know. They're like looking for something, looking for Captain America or whatever. And the Punisher rolls up and just blasts them both right in the face. Shoots them both right in the face. No fucks given. Shoots them right in the face.
That's I was watching like a thing on YouTube that somebody else was talking about at the end and said, you know, no hero or comic book person ever really dies except for Jack-O-Lantern and Toy Master.
Yeah.
They really died.
They really died. Yeah, like he shot them in the face, and it was like you
Pretty much.
You see, like in the pictures, they show Jack-O-Lantern's like pumpkin head explode, man. Like, he is dead, and he blasts him right in the face to give him a chance. And then Captain America comes up and starts whipping his ass, like brutally, dude. Like teeth are falling out, and he's like screaming at him, like, "Why'd you do that?" Blah blah blah. And he, you know, gives the normal Punisher speech of, you know,
I think he's
they're
badass.
bad guys. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the only one who has the balls to do this. And Captain America is like, "Why won't you fight back?" And the Punisher's like, "Because I respect you, dude. Like, I respect what you're doing. I respect what you've done.
Look at my
Like,
skull shirt.
yeah, this is my skull shirt. Like, I respect you. I respect what you've done. It's just like I take it to the point where it needs to be." So he didn't fight back. He Captain America beat him like with an inch of his life. Captain America took him to their base, which was another huge mistake to like get him healed up because I'm pretty sure he kills someone else while he's there. He just killing people. So I think it's cool that even though it's got a lot of people in it and like there's a lot of off like topic stuff that happens, it all has a point to it.
So we don't really have like you have a set, like you two have a set. Both you would say both DC, right?
So
set DC, and we really don't have.
No.
I would say I lean Marvel, but I could be swayed very easily to say DC's better.
So here's the reason why I say DC.
I'm the same way. A little bit opposite. I tend to lean a little bit more DC only because that's what I started with.
Okay.
And those are the characters I knew before I knew of Spider-Man and all the Avengers and all that, but I never read their stories.
Yeah.
Now that I've picked up their stuff and read their stories, I could be swayed the other way.
Sure.
Easily.
Sure. No, understandable. I mean, it's,
I'm wearing a Deadpool shirt.
yeah. What were you saying, Schwinn, before we cut you off because we're more important?
Clearly.
Or rude.
No more important.
Yeah,
Anyway, no. The reason I go DC is because, I don't know, everything I've read from DC, I feel like has been better with the exception of Civil War, which I honestly kind of forgot about, like, how awesome it was until you guys were talking about it.
It was
which,
awesome.
I don't know, most of the stuff, like my favorite, like, graphic novel comic thing ever is, like, Watchmen, just because it's awesome. I think the writing's great, and just the story overall.
Well, yeah, the Watchmen's great because if we get into and I'll get into it now, the reason why sometimes comics frustrate me is that there's no beginning, middle, and end for some characters.
Right.
Like I could launch into another 30 minutes about why I hate Game of Thrones sometimes, but I don't watch the shows. I'm talking about the books. But the reason I love them is because George R. Martin writes beginning, middles, and ends for people. Like there's a storyline. You live, shit happens to you, you die,
Team Jon Snow is dead.
right?
2016.
and then no more living, right? There's no more living. Now, there's been parts of that storyline which I'm sure people could pick apart of, like, hey, in the books, like, this person dies and doesn't die or whatever. But for the most part, there's people that die. There's a beginning, middle, and end for them. And I personally like that idea. Like, I like the idea of killing Captain America and he stays dead. And maybe Bucky takes over. Or maybe there's no more Captain America. Like, maybe Bucky takes over and realizes he can't be Captain America because the thirst for blood is too much in that suit. He can't do the suit justice. So he stops. They stop it.
Just stop it.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I mean, there's too many people out there, though. Like, how would you feel if they just stopped Superman? You know what I mean? There's
I'd be
people
cool
out
with
there.
that.
There's
He
people
ran his
out there
course, man.
who love Captain America that just don't want to lose it. You know?
Lose their
So
shit.
they give him a trial run of would they be okay with someone else being Captain America? And when that flops hellish, that's when they're like, you know what? Let's bring Cap back. Let's just make up another storyline about why Captain America comes back. And when he's back, we could do this. The thing about comics is, if they're gonna get it to the point where they want someone to be killed off or something happen to that person, they need to have a reputable thing for that character, like you were saying. Someone else picks up the reins and they decide they can't do it, or they pick up the reins and they do it a little bit differently, or they pick up the reins and do it flawlessly, or they just let that person die. Batman Beyond is a great example of that.
Right.
Bruce Wayne is a normal human who will age.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to get to his golden years, and I don't see Grandpa Bruce Wayne running around at night stopping people like younger than him. You know what I mean? Like
who are genetically modified.
Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? You take me, Schwinn, and Booker out in the streets, and we go fight some 75-year-old man. Unless that 75-year-old man
It's Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, we're going to whip that ass. You know what I mean?
Unless you're in the movie Gran Torino.
Oh, yeah, unless you're in Torino. Yeah, exactly. So, like, the idea of Batman Beyond, of him, like, seeing potential in someone else and, like, coaching that person, Terry McGinnis, isn't a brainiac. He's a dumb, hormonal teenage boy, okay?
I love Batman.
Boy Meets World.
I love Batman Beyond.
I love it, too.
Beyond.
I think it's a great story.
The comic was great. The show was great.
Exactly.
It absolutely hit the nail on the head of what was supposed to happen with comics.
Exactly.
That stuff I like. I'm not a huge Batman fan, but if I would tell you a version of Batman I like the best, it's that one. I like Batman Beyond. I like the idea of what you're saying of Bruce Wayne. You said he's a normal guy who has vengeance on his mind and is rich. So he's Branson. He's Richard Branson.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson's life story that we're going to find out later. He's been seeking justice on the streets at night for 30 plus years. No, but what was I saying? Oh, the storyline of Batman Beyond. That's the storyline. I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I guess some superheroes is hard to do with because you can't really. Technically, if you are true to the life of Superman, you can't really do that with Superman because who knows how he ages.
I mean, he ages like a normal person. I mean, he was a kid once who became an adult.
I guess that's true. He did age in the span of like when everybody else aged.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. So I thought maybe, never mind.
He just doesn't get old.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he'll age just like everyone else, and there's been storylines for that actually that have crossed over with Batman Beyond, where Superman loses his shit. You know what I mean? He snaps at one point, you know, and he thinks that, oh my God, what was it? He thinks that he has seen so much in so long, but he can't do it anymore because he's tried to right so many wrongs, but evil doesn't stop, man. It just evolves into something
going
else.
right
So then he, instead of taking the route Batman did, where he's like, hey, bad people are going to keep coming, I need to train someone else on how to do this. Superman's like, hey, bad people are going to keep on coming unless I kill everything. Then that'll stop it. So he like snaps, Batman has to stop him, and then he's like, oh wait, no, you're right, like this was stupid of me, blah, blah. But I think they tried to do that though with Superboy.
Superboy, yes. The
Yeah.
clone.
The clone,
The clone.
exactly. I'm
That has
honestly,
like half the powers of Superman.
well, he has yes and no. Like he can't fly. Is that
He
one of
can't
them?
fly.
He can't fly.
He can Hulk jump.
He Hulk jumps. He can't fly, but eventually he learns like how to do all that stuff or something.
Most of it, but not, he can't fly.
He
See,
can't ever fly.
the Superman clone thing, I like to a point because there's been versions of Superman clone or Superboy where they give him too much too quick, and I like the idea of like he has to learn what all this is, and he doesn't have versions of it. And the best part of Superboy that I love the most is it was actually taken from the comics but done a little bit differently. It was a cartoon. It was the Justice League,
Young
The
Justice.
Young Justice, where he's like trying to be badass and trying to be an awesome, and then Superman comes down, blows everybody with laser vision, and goes, "You suck," and leaves.
Right,
And he's
yeah.
like, "What? I don't have laser vision." It's all right.
Severe daddy issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty much the part. Like he really like he wants Superman to like take him under his wing, and Superman's like, "Nah, I got this, dude. Like you're good.
Yeah.
Get back in the test tube. Like,
Do what it is.
you're good. Like I'm good." I really liked Superboy for the fact of like he does seem like a limited Superman. You know, there are certain things he can't do that Superman can do, which kind of humanizes Superman a little bit. You know,
Right.
they give Superman all this shit he can do, and then they give you Superboy, who will eventually supplant Superman, and he can't do everything Superman can do. Plus, he fights crime in a t-shirt. I mean, how relatable is that? You know what I mean? Like he
Because
wears.
that's how you would fight. crime.
Absolutely, you know, I'd be like, all right, man, hold up, let me put on my Toms real quick. I'm gonna get out there and whip some ass, you know. So he fights in a t-shirt, like he's a kid, you know, who he wants Superman to like teach him and talk to him, you know what I mean? And Superman's
Nice
like,
shout out to Tom's. If, you know,
yeah,
it's 3 ones.
and Superman's like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I don't need you. And then, like, Batman Beyond, you know, Terry McGinnis is no genius, but he's a kid who shows promise, who wants to do right in the world. He takes him under his wing, teaches him what to do. And I just feel like
And
comics...
yells at him consistently.
Yells at him, yeah. And I just feel like comics need to go that route a little bit more. Rather than killing people, bringing it back, having 6 different variations of Green Lantern is another good one.
Yeah.
How many effing Green Lanterns are there? We got Hal Jordan, we got Jon Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, like...
Your favorite Guy Gardner.
Hate Guy Gardner. Hate it. And then we have some other dude whose name escapes me, but he's got like a cool like over. He's a colored dude, cool
Oh, I
over.
know what
Like,
you're talking about.
what's his name?
I don't
Man?
know.
He's got like a whole suit over
Kenneth.
his face. I don't know. He's
That's
got
not
like
there's so many. You didn't know
yeah.
about
There's just so many Green Lanterns, and it's like
Pretty
that's
sure
cool.
it's Kenneth.
Like I get that there's a bunch of Green Lanterns. They're supposed to be a whole like there's a whole thing of them because they govern the solar system. You know,
Right,
they
the
govern the
universe.
universe.
Right.
I think they made that one gay in the 52.
I think they did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, he, you know, and that's cool. Like I get it, but like so many of them from Earth, especially when Hal Jordan became a Green Lantern, it was a huge deal.
Right.
Because when he goes to Oa, they're all like, "Oh, we've never picked one from Earth."
We've never picked a human.
Yeah, we've never
And-
picked a human because they're so fresh or whatever
Right.
they use.
We're so new in the course.
Yeah,
of
and they reference that in the movie too. They say something about like, "Ooh, your species is so new," blah blah blah, and it's
Right.
like, "Oh, that's cool." And then all of a sudden, we're the most powerful lantern species there is.
Yeah, well, it's governed by who writes it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, because there's so many Green Lanterns then, I mean, and then you look at the Red Lanterns. Rancor, who's an angry English dude. Most powerful Red Lantern. Till Guy Gardner comes in. Human. Most powerful Red Lantern. Star Sapphires. Carol Ferris takes over. Most powerful. So, like, it's just like, really? Like, how are you going to be like, you guys are so new?
We have to believe that we have latent power somewhere. I mean, comics. If you really want to dive into this, and want to get real deep. That's what really like most stories and comics in general are about. We need to believe we have some latent powers that are more imbued to us than anything. I mean, honestly, without getting too religious, that's the Bible.